Hello, I am Aviva Lee, reporting live in Jerusalem from room 552 for Israel 24/6 TV. Today is the 23rd of July, 2008. Welcome to this edition of More Than Commentary. Yesterday, just shortly after the terror attack in the heart of Israel, all journalists here received a court-ordered censure on any and all information which we might have had on the identity of the presumably Arab terrorist who drove a bulldozer into traffic on King David Street and began to reenact the terror attack perpetrated here on July the 2nd by an Arab terrorist from East Jerusalem. The communique from the government press office reads quite simply, and I quote, "Journalists are advised that there is a court gag order against publication of any details regarding identity of today's Jerusalem terrorist," end quote. Just 31 minutes prior to receiving that communique, the press received the initial email as well from the government press office, and I quote, "Terrorist on tractor set out from construction area in Jerusalem YMCA neighborhood on rampage toward Gan HaPa'amon, corner of Karen Hayasot and King David Street, and struck several vehicles, including a number 13 bus, before being shot and killed by border policemen and civilian. Jerusalem Police Chief Ilan Franco reports one person moderately to seriously wounded and 4 others lightly wounded," end quote. Actually, it is known that the bulldozer entered King David Street from Washington Street. Washington Street is not connected to Jerusalem's YMCA neighborhood. Washington Street runs directly behind the Jerusalem YMCA. It is common knowledge that in 2006, the YMCA began a multi-million-dollar renovation and construction plan in its own backyard. While due to the court censure, I am prohibited from making any comments concerning the identity of the terrorist, it is highly likely that he was employed or knew someone who was employed at that YMCA construction site. Surely this is new evidence to refute once again the predominant Arab claim that poverty and Israeli oppression are the reasons for Arab terrorism on holy soil. Surely this is just one of many examples to refute that widely held notion. Time and again, the listening world is being given cold, hard facts about the origin of Arab terrorism and who finances that Arab terrorism. After yesterday's attack, it occurred to me that one of the most likely motives for Arab-ruled countries to export terrorism is to keep the attention of their own poverty-stricken population diverted from the real cause of that population's poverty. Which Democrat in America calling for the equal distribution of wealth will do a study about the distribution of wealth in countries like Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, and Iran? Interestingly enough, yesterday's attack occurred while President Shimon Peres was meeting with Abu Mazen. Upon being informed of the attack, Mr. Mazen said, and I quote, "I condemn the attack and, as always, adamantly oppose all terrorist activities. I wish to send from here to the injured wishes for a speedy recovery," end quote. President Peres said, and I quote, "Israel will not accept terrorist attacks as part of its routine life. The security forces will take all the necessary steps to protect the safety of the citizens of Jerusalem," end quote. In his opening remarks at yesterday's meeting with Abu Mazen, Mr. Shimon Peres, Israel's president, paid lip service to the release of Corporal Gilad Shalit. It was, after all, President Shimon Peres who used the authority of his presidential office to pardon the murderer Sami Kuntar. The question Mr. Perez needs to answer is why he pardoned a living, breathing terrorist without securing the release of Corporal Gilad Shalit as part of that pardon package. In Israel, we do not need a Harvard degree, nor do we need an expert from the International Council of Foreign Relations to explain Arab terrorism. We have learned at the bedsides of our wounded and at the graves of our dead that a terrorist is a terrorist is a terrorist. And most of those terrorists in this hemisphere operate under the same Arab umbrella. Most of them are paid with the same Arab wealth procured by the sale of oil to the free world. When is the free world going to demand that those in government get serious about alternate energy sources and bankrupt those financing Arab terrorism? You can rest assured, dear listener, that if Arabs owned the wind or the sun or the waves of the ocean, that the technology to use those alternate energy sources would have been implemented 2 decades ago. And that concludes this edition of More Than Commentary. I am Aviva Lee, reporting live in Jerusalem from room 552 for Israel 24/6 TV. Thank you, and Shalom.